At the August 2nd, 2022 City Council meeting, the contract extension with the Sheriff's Department for Interim Police Chief Services failed by a 2-2 vote, and the local emergency declaration was punted into the future to wait and see how many officers and staff resign from our police department. Greetings, everyone. This is the Gardening Snail of Livingston, California, just trying to keep the community informed and local government as honest as possible. In this video, we will look at the final few minutes of what was a very long meeting and see the conversation leading up to the failure of a contract extension with the Sheriff's Department for Interim Police Chief Services. Just a quick reminder that the views, opinions, and editorial content is my own as a resident of Livingston, and they do not represent the views and opinions of the City Council or the City of Livingston itself. And they should not ever be thought of as offering any kind of legal opinion or legal advice. If you happen to like what I do here and the video clips I provide, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook. With that out of the way, now let's take a look at that video clip, shall we?
Blaming me for withholding something from the city where I place safety as a #1 concern, but I also have an obligation to protect the city down the road. So, again, solutions brought up, there have been some, but again, we need to try harder. We need to focus, like the gentleman said up there, we need to focus at what is our #1 priority, and that is public safety. Again, we need to put that, we're not in charge of hiring and firing, and we need to actually put that pressure on to do something. We have other options. Paul brought some up, we need to reach out to our previous, retired, even change a few things that we need to in order to get some staffing in order and get our city back to its stability. We've undergone instability over the years. We have had change of chiefs before I was on council. We went from Eldridge, Soria, but the list goes on. We had Craig, Chavez, Dunford. We had a few interims in there in between. Again, this is not unheard of. So again, we have obligation to our city to protect it. There have been solutions. We need to put the pressure on getting those solutions fixed. Someone needs to make up their mind on how we're going to move that forward. Again, if it means bringing back, whether they were favorable or unfavorable, we're looking at protecting our city. That is our priority. That is my priority.
Any other? Council. Go ahead.
So, based on comments and conversations up here on the dais, I think, like, for once, we're all in agreement. I think everybody believes in public safety, which is good. That is why we're still here. So one of the things is, it is time to show by action what that means. Do we believe in public safety? In which way? Earlier I had a comment I already forgot, but I think it's a great opportunity to not only, so let's go back to different scenarios. And the reality is that normally I also do my own research, and I also did some inquiring with a few agencies, some few people that I know within Merced County and outside of Merced County, in two other different counties. And I inquire about, I'm just curious. If you had the opportunity to come and were offered a position as the chief of police, will you take that or will you consider it? 80% of the people said, yes, of course, I would consider it because there's always good opportunities out there. And later, they asked, well, where? Well, City of Livingston. A few of them almost fell back. A few of them were just kind of trying to process. But at the end of the day, all of them were like, no, I'd rather stay where I'm at right now. Two of them said in different ways, I don't even want to risk my retirement. So the reality, and let's be honest, very few people at this point, as of today, would want to come here. I'm not saying that they would not want to come here because they don't like our city or they don't like our people, but simply because of the instability. Call it whatever you want to call it, but it's called instability for different reasons. So we got to work with what's in front of us. If you can show me and tell me that you reached out and you know of someone that is willing to come right now, then that will possibly be an option. And when I said that when I asked for options, it was not because I didn't consider different alternatives, different possibilities. I tried to analyze different scenarios. Which one would be worse for our situation? Which one would be worse or best for our city? We're here right now. I was the one that voted against their contract. I was the only one. But actions have demonstrated that whether or not it's something that we can work with, yes, let's be honest again. We have the elections coming up, and people are thinking about that. People that are to be considered whether or not they want to come and work here. It's like, do I really want to go somewhere where in a few months there's going to be an election? What's going to happen to that council? Are they going to fire me too? Nobody wants to risk that. I think that what they're doing is they're waiting to see what happens up to November 5th or 6th or 7th, whatever that is. November 2nd? November 8th, I think it is. But anyways, that's reality. Whatever we do right now, it is going to be representative of what we mean by public safety. So I just hope that this council makes the right decision for the best interest of that community. Thank you.
Once again, I think I understand the need for or the want for our own police chief, our own, either within or recruited. But ultimately, we're not there yet. There has to be a process in place, and I think this is something that we could live with, something that we could work with to get there, to get to that point. It's going to take time. Maria, I understand that, you believe strongly that we should have somebody within or do, additional steps to recruit somebody, and you believe there's, viable solutions besides the sheriff's department. However, we have made some attempts to do that, and there are reasons, obviously, that we haven't been successful. At this time, with the sheriff's department, it provides that additional time. It provides that leadership we need right now, not later on. not in 2-3 months. We need that leadership and that stability now. It's not about what we want or anything like else. It's just what the community needs. It's what's right. It's what the department needs at this time. It's beyond what we want. And this is one of the biggest decisions we're going to be making. And at this point, I believe that's the right decision. Like I said, I'm not necessarily happy that it's a different agency. However, they have proven themselves to be, great partners and provided support and service to our community with respect. And, everything we've asked them for, they've been there. So, that's just beyond. It's almost like common sense. This is the only option we have at this point, whether we like it or not. It provides instant stability, instant support, and it comes up, and so we could have that time to really do our research or train somebody within. So it's not gonna happen overnight. We need that stability now. So I'm asking you as the mayor, as a member of the community for many, many years, involved in the city for many, many years, let's do the right thing now. Give them the opportunity to really groom somebody within, train somebody, get them ready. They've stated many times that they're not here to take over. They want to provide additional support. They want to help us out. And I think they've proven that. I think that's just the right thing to do. That's the option we have right now, and let's take it. It's a 1-year contract. We were able to, cancel that contract if we find somebody, or if they feel that somebody within is ready to go. What's going to be important is that we have good follow-up. Good communication with the city manager and making sure there's a good plan in place. There's time frames and there's a good succession plan. But at this moment, at this time, that's the right thing to do. There's no other option.
Mayor, if I may make a comment. It was brought up that it would be great to have a plan in place to provide training, to groom that police chief, and I believe that the contract you have in front of you, it is exactly that. It accomplishes continuing the leadership that we have today and allowing the city to bring the lieutenant position back and to be able to start that training and to start that grooming and to have a clear second in command. To the comments of, trying to find other options, that's exactly what I have been doing. I've been asking retirees. They retired and they're enjoying their happy days of no worries. They do not want to. They have declined. They point me back to the sheriff's office. I've contacted other law enforcement agencies, and they are just as short in staff as we are, or many other agencies around the region. They point me back. Have you contacted your sheriff's department? Same thing with executive placement. So at this moment, when we are talking about this long-term planning and this succession plan and something for us to have to plan long-term, to have stability, to be resilient in the future, this is the plan that we're bringing forward, and we brought it forward since April.
Thank you. And I have a quick question about the contract. And I know it says captain, right? But I know there's also an option regarding the lieutenant, right?
We have proposed 2 alternatives. One is the lieutenant position. I believe there is a differential pay, and what we are recommending in the staff reports to go with a captain position, so that way it could provide training to that new lieutenant that we will be requesting in our as part of our budget that it's coming up in mid-August.
What is the difference between the lieutenant option and captain option?
Well, based on the staff report that we provided, there was we had about a $10 difference. I believe when we talked about this in April, there was a $40,000 difference between, and that's annually, and also that is expecting it or estimating it, doing this projection at the highest step of the salary, the salary schedule. At this moment, like Under Sheriff Gibson shared, there was a salary adjustment, so those new figures will be provided, and we will be able to update that table. However, we do have the stipulation of not to exceed contract, so we won't go over the budgeted amount.
Thank you.
City Manager, I might suggest we just have just because we're not going to be able to approve the contract that's currently in the agreement, and so it would be good to have the Sheriff's Department just come up and quickly outline if there's any other changes other than, like, because I don't want to have to bring this back again. So, for instance, if we're selecting a lieutenant versus a captain and how those different options work from the function of being able to actually have a contract to consider and know what we're exactly approving or authorizing tonight.
I do my best to address the concerns. So the lieutenant option included a 10% pay incentive for the chief. Essentially, when the lieutenant was assigned here, we didn't take in consideration that he would be missing some on-call pay and some other incentive pays when he's assigned to the City of Livingston that he would generally get at the sheriff's office. And we were trying to make it competitive in a way to get all lieutenants to be interested in coming to Livingston. I think I've shared with the council before, I had to assign Chuck to Livingston. There was no one that volunteered to come out of my 5 lieutenants. So we were looking at ways to incentivize someone to come to Livingston. The captain option was also given. The pay is very similar between the 10% and the captain. There's not a whole lot of difference as I recall. We'd have to look at all the different pay incentives, but I don't recall anything else being different in the contract other than it was a lieutenant with a pay incentive or a captain. We've never drawn up a draft contract on the lieutenant option because that has never been given the direction to the sheriff's office.
I got a question for you, Under Sheriff. So let's say if we go with the lieutenant option, who would that be? Would that be Chuck Hill?
We would probably draft it out to the lieutenants, and we have a conversation with the city manager about who would be the best selection for the lieutenant. It's quite possible it could be Chuck, and we continue to be Chuck. I know that Chuck has been frustrated with the current atmosphere of the City of Livingston. I've had this conversation with a couple of you, and I've told Chuck to be more of a babysitter, which was requested by many of you, and so I've asked him to stop some progressive changes and wait for some of these projects to be implemented. So it could be Chuck, and if we go with the captain option, we would do a promotional panel with the sheriff, and the sheriff would make a selection, and then we would assign someone to the City of Livingston.
What I'm understanding, if we go to the captain route, we're still going to get a lieutenant that just suddenly got promoted. Or are we going to get a captain that's been there for 2 years plus experience?
So there's a couple different options, and me and the sheriff have had some conversations. There's nothing definitive about who it would be. Those things are still be up in the air. We haven't had really concrete conversations. As of last week when I was at work, I've been off a week. My intention was to vacate. So we really haven't had any further discussions, just a couple quick conversations with Vanessa about her still desiring to have a captain here at the city.
So, Sheriff, if you could just clarify again, so we know what the default would be if they were to do it. Would the default be the captain position, and then they could select to go up to the lieutenant position, or would the default be the lieutenant position and it could go up to the captain?
Well, I think right now it's the captain is being proposed, and then the alternative is a lieutenant.
Okay.
Then the city would not appoint a lieutenant within its own ranks.
Yeah. So, just so you all are clear on what you'd be asked to vote on, and what the default is, and what the option would be if you want to do something.
Yeah, option one, as I understand it, is the captain, and then to unfreeze the lieutenant position within the city. And the second option is to just do a lieutenant with a 10% pay incentive from the sheriff's office.
And then not promote nobody into a lieutenant?
That's my understanding.
So then how are we going to train somebody?
I think those are decisions you have to make as the council.
So it comes back, we're going to be here another year later, we're going to be in the same boat again.
Like I said, these are difficult decisions you have to make.
Council, additional questions, comments, questions?
Yeah, like I said, this job falls on the city manager. She had 1 year to see if we have somebody who's ready from the department or reach out. Because right now, if you go on the city website, it says, oh, I'm sorry, if it says, if you apply for the position, you gotta contact Chief L. And then Chief L's gonna let the city manager know, yeah, you have 1 applicant, 2 applicants. I mean, who would want to hire their own replacement? I don't think we're never going to get a chief that way. It's not just that position. If you look at Public Works Director, Wastewater Manager, Wastewater 2, we're understaffed, and it's been over a year, we haven't hired nobody. So at the end of the day, it's not the Sheriff's Department's fault, it's our management that doesn't want to hire nobody and just wants to go to the consultants because they have more control. So that's all I'm gonna say.
Any other questions, Council? Comments?
So, legal, can you state the options just to make it formal?
Okay. So, first choice is captain, okay. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my captain lieutenant choices straight. So I think that would be requesting authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with the Merced County Sheriff's Department that's substantially similar to the one that's been included in the packet. If you want to go with selection 1, then you would specify captain, and if you want to go with option 2, you're going to specify lieutenant. And I think we can leave it at. I think we would be leaving it at that. At that point in time, it would just need to be signed off by the city manager, so long as it's the city attorney deems the form substantially similar. So, and if it's
So when a motion is made, we have to specify it with option 1 or 2? Or
I think it's preferable because I don't want ambiguity that would require the contract to come back and do this all over again.
Is that clear enough? Basically, it's a captain versus a lieutenant. Option 1's a captain. Option 2's lieutenant.
Option 1 is a captain that will take the opportunity to train
and that
from within.
Unfreeze a lieutenant position to promote within, yeah.
And then does that mean, okay, so then I just want to make sure. So if that option is taken, then we have to unfreeze the lieutenant position, which means
Promote some.
we're assuming that we have the budget.
Yeah, I think that's been worked up already.
That's a position that we will be bringing forward in the budget discussions as well.
Okay, so, but we still have the option to consider someone from outside as to consider all candidates.
Our recruitments are will be open recruitments. All of our recruitments are open recruitments.
So I think, if I could, I think the operable provision is the one that the Sheriff's Department pointed out earlier, which is why I asked the city manager to clarify it, which is that there would be a 90-day provision to be able to terminate the contract if you found somebody. So I think that that's probably, if you find somebody, that's what you do. You would exercise that.
Correct.
Okay, I move to approve option 1 as stated in the staff report.
Would it be within the contract in a form substantially similar to that with the things we've discussed tonight with the Sheriff's Department?
Yes, that is correct.
And to clarify, there's the captain option, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Jose Moran. Do we have a second? I'll go ahead and second that motion. Monica? Could do an actual roll call, Monica? Yeah, could do a verbal.
Councilmember Soto?
No.
Councilmember Pratt?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia? Oh, sorry. Mayor Aguilar?
Yes.
Motion fell by a vote of 2-2.